Thank you for tuning in for Wanderlust Books. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today we're talking about books that gave me major wanderlust. So over the years, I've gotten to read books that just really give me fulfillment from reading them. Like, I read them and I feel like I was there in the place where this book was set. It had like beautiful descriptions. It was about a place that I've always wanted to visit, etc., etc. You know what I mean? Like, it put me in the moment. It made me think, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to be, or I felt like I was there with the person telling the story. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. So, like I said, I don't really get to travel that much, and it's mostly just like money, opportunity, convenience. I've got a family, and for a long time when I had a family, like when your kids are like really small, it is very difficult and not that enjoyable to travel. It's super stressful, and we're just now getting to a point where our kids are like old enough now and it's fun to travel. Like, it's easier to take trips, and like they remember things and it's fun. And so I feel like we're finally coming full circle with that and getting to like go out and do stuff. But a lot of the places I'm going to talk about today are places like, one, I wouldn't ever have the opportunity to go to, or they're just not really that realistic, but the descriptions were really good, or I just really fell in love with the whole idea of like going and visiting this place. Anyway, since I figured it's like almost summer now, this is the time when I'm like, I want to travel right now because the weather is like always perfect. It's not too hot, not too cold, etc. When I sat down and made the list, I was like, it's going to be like 3-4 books top. Wrong. The list got really big, and I was like, well, I could like turn this into a series. So this is part 1 of the Wanderlust series. Let's just call it that. And yeah, we're going to start with, I think, 5 books. So like, that's kind of a lot. Usually I only give you guys 3 books. I'm giving you guys 5 this time. And when will I pick up the rest of the series? I don't know. Just depends. Just depends. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. First book I'm going to talk to you about today is Adrift by Tami, Oldham, Ashcraft. Okay, I talked about this so long ago on my channel, like way back in the early days, and I did like a film versus book comparison because they did turn this into a film starring Shailene Woodley, and honestly it was all very good. So yeah, I encourage you to go like check out that kind of stuff on my channel. This book, like, if you've seen the film, if you know anything about the film, you're like, Alex, why would you choose this to go on here? Because it's basically about Tami Oldham Ashcraft surviving her ship being like demolished in the middle of the sea and like getting herself to safety. And it's like, that's not really sparking wanderlust. Let me tell you guys, this book, first of all, it's incredible. This is Tami Oldham Ashcraft's like memoir of surviving this ordeal with her boat. And but before we get into all that, like, or as we're in it, like, Tami is calling back on all of her memories with her husband. I think his name is Richard, but now I'm not sure. And how she came to be like on this boat in this situation and everything. There are so many beautiful stories about the places that they visited together, about the places that Tami visited on her own. Like, she had like this whole excursion journey of her own before she even met the man that she ended up marrying, and they started like taking their boat around the world as well. And so they visited so many beautiful places, and I just felt so connected to where they were. It felt so beautiful and vibrant, and I just loved it. I loved this whole journey. It was just so exciting, and I just fell in love with it. I really did. Like, if I ever wanted to do something like this, which like I don't really want to because the open ocean like seriously freaks me out, but I would have wanted to do exactly what Tami did. And so if you also have this like desire to read about things like this, like, they visit the most exclusively like quiet, like hidden places in like all these little islands and things like that. It was just such a journey, and I absolutely loved the descriptions and everything. So yeah, this one definitely gave me like just so much fulfillment about reading about these places, and I absolutely loved the vibes. They were immaculate. Like, yeah, this book is kind of sad because it is like a survivalist situation. But I think whoever wrote this, like if Tami wrote this herself and added all these pieces about her past journeys and stuff like that, she did it in such a way that was just so beautiful and exciting. So yeah, I absolutely recommend this book to anybody that's wanting to like scratch that Wanderlust itch. Okay, the next one might be like a little bit controversial, but The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. If y'all been here a minute, y'all know I love this book. Like, I absolutely adore this book. And if y'all been here a minute, you know people really hate this book. Okay? I feel like you are on one side of the aisle or the other. Like, you either really liked it or you really didn't. I happen to really like this book. And yes, this did give me this like really big travel vibe because, okay, premise of this book first. Like, we have a female main character, and she finds herself in the place between life and death. And in the place between life and death is a library. And in the library is a book about every path that your life could have taken, right? Like, say, instead of marrying this person, you married that person. Instead of choosing this job, you chose that job. Like, anytime that your life had like a little fork in the road, instead of choosing the path you did go on, there's a multitude of paths that you could have gone on. And that is what every book in the library is. All the alternate paths that your life could have taken. And so, when our main character is in the Midnight Library, she gets to open and read any book that she wants. And then when she opens and reads the book, she is put in that life path that she's reading about. And she can see about where she went and how she went and how it all turned out if she had gone this way instead of that way. I found this incredibly interesting as a person that constantly thinks about all of my life decisions and like, what if I had done this instead? And I also feel like this had a really beautiful underlying message. A lot of people found this very self-helpy, and like that turned a lot of people off of it. I absolutely loved it. A lot of people are like, I don't need a book to tell me to be happy. I do. Okay, sometimes I just get in and I need something to tell me to come out. Do you know what I mean? And this book definitely did that for me, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah, but back to the travel vibes. This one had all of them, okay? We were all over the globe in this book. We were in little tiny quaint towns that were just so cute with the cobblestones and everything. We were in like the Arctic, like with polar bears and stuff. We were in Australia at one point. Like, we were everywhere and doing everything. And I just loved it. I loved that every time she opened a new book, that it, like, the sky was the limit, you know? And I absolutely loved that. But it also was, like, super painful to also think about, like, all the amazing things that could have happened. And also all of the tragic things that could have happened. This was just a beautiful book. I absolutely loved it. And yes, the traveling in this book was really top tier. I absolutely loved that aspect of it too. The next book I'm going to talk about is Wintering by Katherine May. Okay, this is like a self-help book, okay? So if you don't want to read something like that, just like skip it. But this book is about like taking care of yourself when you're going through the dark seasons, you know, or like depression. So if you're like prone to things like that, I think this might give you like a boost. I read this when I was in my own like dark season, which is very typically the winter season for me. I get seasonal depression. I do. And so this was very helpful for me during that time of my life, and I just really, really loved it. A lot of people call this book really privileged. I talk about this book a lot in another post, and I encourage you to go listen to it there. I did not find this privileged. I found it very moving. I think people have very different definitions of like that topic. So yeah. The reason this gave me the travel itch, explored that for me is, one, because Katherine May is not from America. Like, I think this is set in England where she lives. And so we're getting a lot of that vibe from it. Okay, she's very good at like telling us where she's living and what her life is like there, like what it looks like, what it feels like. And if you've ever been to England, I have not, but I've had a lot of friends that have gone and said like it's very dreary there, like it can be sort of like confining almost in a way, but some people really love that aspect of it. So I feel like Katherine May gives a really great like compare and contrast on the seasons in England, which I really liked. She also traveled to some really amazing places and did some really cool things while she was trying to like heal herself in this book. I would dare to say this book reminded me a lot of Eat, Pray, Love, but for the record, I absolutely hated that book. That book to me felt insanely privileged, whereas this book does not. And I think the biggest difference between the two of these is because Katherine May took a break from her life when she lived in a country that allowed her to take a break from her life. Does that make sense when I tell you guys that? Like, other countries value mental health differently than America values mental health. And so in the country where Katherine May lives, there are a lot more resources for people to take time off work and to get the help that they need to take care of themselves without being rich, which I think is the biggest difference between Katherine May and I cannot remember whoever wrote Eat, Pray, Love. I also found Eat, Pray, Love, one, to be extremely privileged, but two, to be very whiny. I don't know, I've talked to a few people who also felt that way about that book. So I would say if you liked the idea of Eat, Pray, Love without the privilege and the whininess, this might work better for you, as it worked a lot better for me. And Katherine May was not looking for anything when she was writing this book except to help herself. She wasn't looking for love, she wasn't looking for acceptance, she wasn't looking for any of those things except for to heal herself. And I thought that was a beautiful message. But yes, she does go a lot of really great places. We see a lot of amazing things, and I absolutely loved this journey for her. So yes, I highly recommend this book. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Island by Elin Hilderbrand. Okay, I read a lot of Elin Hilderbrand. I read her whole like Winter Street series, which is like a whole other vibe, but like I really, really love this book and I keep coming back to it. Talked about this book on my channel before. This is probably went into like my beach vibes book because yes, it has all the beach vibes. We have this family, this group of women. We have mother and the two sisters and then the aunt. And I'm gonna come out right out and tell you guys, like, there's just class things happening in this book. This family is insanely well off, okay? They've got a lot of money. So if you don't want to read about stuff like that, like, skip it. But yeah, it's just a lot of classist stuff in here. So the oldest daughter is about to get married, and like right before she gets married, she's like, nope, I'm not getting married. And she like bails on the whole thing. And so the mom was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? So she gets her sister and the two daughters together and they go to the island, to a home on, I think it's like Nantucket or Tuckernut, maybe it's Tuckernut, something like that, over in that area. And their family owns like a house, like a private house over there on this very exclusive island. I know, this is what I mean. So they go and they're like, we're gonna have a healing journey and it's gonna be great. Okay, the story for this book is absolutely immaculate. I 100% loved every second of it because you have this like really cool edgy aunt that's just like, she was the whole vibe, okay? And then we have this mom that's also dealing with like a divorce and she's trying to figure her stuff out. And then we have the daughter that walked out on her wedding and so she's trying to figure her stuff out. And then we have the younger sister that's just been overlooked her whole life, you know? She's always played second fiddle to her sister and she's finally getting to a point now where she's like, I am going to come out and do what I want to do and be who I want to be, and this is my time to shine, baby. And I absolutely loved it, and all four of these women together were just everything. The whole setting of this story was just magical to me. It was like the perfect beach vibe ever, and I love the house that they stayed in. It was like super quirky and cute. The little island where they were was just everything. And yeah, it was just perfect. So like, this is one of those things where it's like, I'm never gonna go to this place. Never ever am I gonna go to Nantucket or Tuckernut or wherever this place was. I'm never gonna be able to go to these places. Just because, one, there's just not enough money in the world. I would never fit in with these people. And I have no desire to go, but like reading about this place was like enough for me. Like I felt like I was there and that was enough for me, and I don't feel like I need to ever go. But yes, this, like, the vibes for this were just immaculate, and I really do recommend Elin Hilderbrand for like pretty much everybody. She's very easy to read, very fun, and yeah, she does specialize in like beach reads a lot. Like I feel like all of her covers have like some beachy vibe to it. Like this one is a little bit more subdued. Like it doesn't look like a romance book or anything. Because it's not really. It's about these four women like finding their place within themselves, within each other, and then within the whole dynamic of the world, I guess you would say. But yeah, great beach aesthetic. Okay, I feel like I've been talking forever. This is the last one, and this one's a little different, but it's the Fever series by Katherine May Moning, and I'll put the first book here. So I read this series so long ago. I love this series, and I actually read the first 5 books. Okay, the first 5 books are about a specific group of people, and then there's a bunch of spin-off series, and they kind of reconnect later. I only read the first 5 because that follows the original characters, and I didn't continue with it on after that because honestly it was a lot. Okay, let me just do a little premise for it. Okay, so we have a female main character. I think her name is Mackenzie, Mac for short, I think. She's an American living in America. Her sister goes overseas to Ireland for some summer vacation or something like that, and she misses a phone call from her sister, and then by the time she listens to the voicemail, they've gotten news that her sister is dead in Ireland. And the only evidence they really have of any foul play is this voicemail that she left her sister. And it's very cryptic, and she doesn't really understand what it's about. So she decides to go to Ireland to figure out how her sister died and everything like that. And as she is there, she realizes that there is a whole realm of fae people that intermingle with, like, human people, and they're basically at war with each other, and she finds herself stuck in the middle of all of it. So fantasy, I would not say this is high fantasy because it was extremely digestible. Like, you all know about me and fantasy, okay? We don't always get along. I really liked this because it was extremely accessible for the reader, and I never felt overwhelmed by the details of this book. Like, if anything, it was just very easy and enjoyable. It is highly sexualized, so this is not for YA. There's just a lot happening here, and I absolutely loved it. So the travel vibes, yes, Ireland, Dublin, like perfection. I fell in love with the scenes. I fell in love with where we were. Like, I fell in love with the people there, like the whole atmosphere that Katherine May Moning set up for Mac, and some of the other characters in this book were just the best. I absolutely loved it. And like, I mean, I've always wanted to go to Ireland, and this just kind of fueled that even more. Like, oh my gosh, I really want to go to Ireland now. Like, even though I've always wanted to go, this just like pushed it a little bit more. So this entire series is set there. Like I said, I only read the first 5 books, and that follows Mackenzie on her journey to find out like what happened to her sister, and like finding out the Fae world and everything like that, and how everything intermingles. And then there is a spin-off trilogy based off a character that we meet like in book 2 or 3 or something like that. And then it does circle back to Mac, but like I said, I haven't read anything past book 5 because it was a lot. Okay, like this took almost a year of my life to get through. But I really enjoyed it. And yeah, Ireland. It hit the spot for sure. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. That was my Wanderlust travel books, and I hope you guys really enjoyed that. I was excited to talk to you guys about this book because I swore like I did this series already, and then I realized I hadn't, and it made me even more excited because, yeah, I absolutely love books that make you feel like you went somewhere or make you want to go somewhere, you know? Like I said, I don't always get to travel that much, and so this was like super exciting. And yeah, I absolutely love reading that. And I feel like this is the perfect time of year because everyone's kind of like gearing up to go, or you're deciding to not go. I don't know. And if you're not going, these are like some great books to kind of like get you through the summer and kind of scratch that little travel itch if you're not able to go anywhere. Or if you are going somewhere, this is like fun to take with you when you go somewhere, some of these books. So yeah, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know I'm posting. I post every week, and I hope you guys had a great time listening to my Wanderlust books. I'm excited about some of the summer content that we're coming out with. We're doing Pride Month next month, and I'm super excited about that, as always. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Leave me a comment, tell me what's up, tell me what you're reading, etc., etc. And I will see you all next time. Bye!